the first question about transparency, there is, I'd say, a growing international consensus that there are essentially three elements to the transparency discussion with respect to sovereign wealth funds. The first is transparency about the fund's objectives. The second is transparency about the institutional structure and the investment decision-making process. And the third element is transparency about financial data. And most, if any, most, if not all, sovereign wealth funds have little difficulty with the first two. A lot of discussion is centered on the third, and the third, of course, is important in demonstrating that sovereign wealth fund investment decisions are commercially motivated. But I think sovereign wealth funds also have a very valid point that they shouldn't be asked to disclose information which would allow the private sector to front-run them. And that's fair, and that's well taken. With respect to what has been done since Dubai ports, the most important development since Dubai ports is that Congress, with strong bipartisan support, passed the Foreign Investment and National Security Act last year. And that act reaffirms the central role of SWFs in helping to safeguard U.S. national security in a manner that's fully consistent with the U.S. commitment to open investment. A lot of lessons have been learned since Dubai ports. I'll just mention two. The first is the importance of good communication with Congress as these decisions in SWFs are made, and those improvements have been enshrined in the FINSA, the Foreign Investment and National Security Act. The second lesson, which I think investors have learned, is that there are two ends to Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington. There is the administration and Treasury and the White House on one end, and there's Congress on the other. And inevitably, there is a political context to cross-border direct investment. And I think investors have also learned the importance of communicating themselves with Congress about the benefits of their investment.
So hence the private equity and hedge fund ought to be treated differently than the SWFs?
Well, that's still a separate question. And I think that's actually, I'm glad you said that, because just as China shouldn't feel singled out among sovereign wealth funds, sovereign wealth funds shouldn't feel singled out as investment vehicles. And Treasury has been very focused, actually, on hedge funds for a couple years now. And in February 2007, the President's Working Group on Financial Markets, which is chaired by Secretary Paulson and brings together U.S. regulators like the Federal Reserve, the SEC, and the Commodities Futures Trading Commission, released a set of principles and guidelines to guide the official sector and the private sector with respect to private pools of capital, which includes hedge funds. And actually, just this week, just on Tuesday, two blue ribbon private sector panels that were established as a result of the PWG process released their own set of best practices. So there is now a set of best practices for asset managers of hedge funds, and there is a set of best practices for investors in hedge funds, so that they do their own due diligence.
But Robert, why not have something for all investors? I mean, KIA has repeatedly said to me, why single out sovereign wealth funds? Why not just have a code of best practice for all categories of investors?
Well, sovereign wealth funds, hedge funds, private equity, these are all different investment vehicles. And sovereign wealth funds will be the first to tell you that they aren't as leveraged.
They market themselves as the anti-hedge funds.
They aren't as leveraged as hedge funds, right? They're different. And so I think it's very fair to look at different types of investment vehicles. And it's very true that they will have some common issues. But it would also be a bit simplistic to think that the same product is going to be able to apply in a cookie-cutter way across different types of investment vehicles.
Well, unfortunately, running out of time. So the next, one question. The next session is going to be in the Beverly Hills room. I was told to give that message. Linda, you want to have one quick question, or we'll end this?
Here to the old Chinese culture, when you are a guest, you are very polite. Okay? You don't want to say anything that the host country might feel somewhat offended. But I've been in the United States for more than 60 years. I've acquired the American way of presenting myself. I can be quite blunt in my advice to the Treasury, to my former colleagues at the Treasury. The days of arrogance are gone. Particularly now, we have a cup in hand going around the world asking people to strengthen up our capital base of our failing banking system. We need to be a little more humble. Now, I am for transparency. I'm for asking all the players in the marketplace disclose their governance structure, their decision making. But you said we did not single out China. But why we, the United States, was silent all these years when our KIAs and ADIAs and Tematics and GICs were in the marketplace? Why not apply the same code, the same demand for transparency of all the players, including the private equity players in the United States, in UK, everywhere else? They are no different. What we are doing, tabling the issue of code of conduct, asking for disclosure, transparency of these newer SWFs, is intentionally or unintentionally, you're telegraphing this message, that is, you are guilty until proven innocent. You are guilty until proven innocent. We are prescribing these codes for you to comply. But we are not asking other market players to do the same. Private equity players are different from SWFs. You look at their practice. Temasek, when they make their decisions to invest or not to invest, they are no different from the Blackstones, from the Carlyles, from the TPGs. I doubt that. Thank you.
Well, I unfortunately have to exercise my authority of closing it out because we have to move it to the next room. But we hear your message loud and clear, and thank you for commenting. Unless you wanted to have 1 minute of a response to that, or I really have to close it out.
Well, I'm not sure. That was a 4 or 5 minute question. I'm not sure if I can
so we'll do it next time.
And
All right, thank you very much for coming, and this is a great session. And thank you all for being here.